Welcome back to Tech Talks from Commercial Baking. I'm your host, Maddie Lambert. In this episode, sponsored by Vention, I'm speaking with Natalia de los Santos, Lead Product Line Manager, about palletizing technology for end-of-line automation. Natalia, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Maddie. It's a pleasure to be here.
This is a really interesting topic and one I'm excited to dive into more because palletizing and palletizing technology is really taking the industry to new heights. And I'd love to hear your specific input about Vention and how you guys are helping commercial bakers reach their automation goals. Because across the industry, automation is being adopted at rapid rates because it's a solution if they're facing maybe labor shortages or rising operational costs. So, what are some of the aspects of Vention's cobot palletizers that address this need for flexible end of line automation?
Vention's mission has always been to democratize automation, and we've done this by building an entire platform of plug and play components. We started with fairly basic components, and then we worked our way to something a little bit more custom. And depending on what customers were actually requesting, we expanded those areas. And end of line systems was one of them. We started at the very beginning with palletizers, conveyors, grippers, and then with time, we basically added things like case packers and case sealers and so on. From the very beginning, we realized that customers have very specific needs for each and every one of their projects. And so no project is the same from one to the next. And that's where the basically ecosystem that we have from Vention comes into play because of this whole plug and play and having all of these components that really marry with each other quite nicely. We're able to do something quite custom for customers. And this is without actually adding a lot of timeline to the project or anything like this, because we do have a platform that backs it up entirely. We're talking about things like, for example, size and configuration of the system, where we have mobility requirements from our customer. If we want to move this palletizer from one end of line to the next, because we're not running one line on a specific day, it is quite easy to simply pick it up with a forklift and move it over. So these are like little things that we think about. There's also, for example, our grippers. We have modular grippers that are very adjustable to the specific packaging that the customer is facing. And so we're able to adapt in that way. Then if your pallets are taller or shorter, we do have things like telescopic columns where you can place your robot on top and so reach higher heights of palletizing. And then in terms of like the actual technology, we play with both cobots and industrial robots, depending on the actual speeds, weights, and so on that the customer needs to accommodate for. And I would say that finally, the biggest thing is like think about safety as well. So we're talking about equipment safety, machinery safety, and we definitely want the floor space to be taken into consideration. If you have a column that's part of your building there, we are not going to be able to put a fence there, right? So these are all things that we take into consideration and that our platform really supports our customers with. And then when we move on from the hardware and we go into the software specifically, we do have a software that is basically planned for each and every single configuration that we have so that the customer doesn't need to actually go and change any settings behind the scenes and make it a little bit more complex to them. So this is all already taken into consideration in the software, and it's just drop down menus that help you select the right settings for your specific needs. So in today's day and age, having access to applications and things on your tablet and phones and so on, like that's really the type of user experience that our customers will have with our technology.
Absolutely. And to your point with this, I don't want to say pain point, but space is definitely one of those things that comes up when you're talking about, well, I want to expand, but we don't really have the space. So this plug and chug factor, like you're talking about, it really just addresses that need. And some of the other pain points that come up are training and maintenance, specifically with automation. So I want to talk about and dive into the features of this solution that are designed for ease of use when it comes to training and maintenance.
Absolutely. So everything starts from the deployment process, right? And it's as simple as the fact that you don't need to change your electrical or air in the facility. The palletizer is really plug and play for the most part. Things like that are very easy. And then there's also the fact that you do not need to necessarily stock replacement parts for everything yourself because everything is stocked at our warehouse. So if you need to buy a replacement part, it's usually a question of like 24 hours before you receive your components. We make that process very easy. And then we also have the fact that things like the software, it will allow you to very easily select whatever it is that you need to do. If, like, for example, you need to recalibrate your robot because you've moved your palletizer to another place, it's really just a couple of clicks on your screen, and it's very easy to access. We have a tablet that comes with a palletizer, so everything is done on that tablet. It's very simple. The actual system, other than that, doesn't really require any maintenance. And then everything that has to do with support. So if anything happens and you're not able to figure it out, it would be as simple as clicking on our little remote support button where you get in touch with one of our support engineers back at our offices, and they're able to solve the problem with you on the spot. So we answer within minutes, and 95% of the issues that we see are solved within that very first quick call. So enabling our customers to be able to be independent and very quickly solve any issues that may come is of the most importance for us.
Absolutely. And you're there with them every step of the way, but it's helping that they don't necessarily need you at every step of the way because it's just fully automated. Like we talked about, it's ease of use. So let's talk about ROI. So what are you seeing with your customers who have employed this technology in terms of payback value?
Payback will very much depend on the customer's specific needs for it, how much they're running per day, like how many shifts, how many people are there palletizing by hand, for example. It's not the same if you need to palletize 30-kilogram boxes versus 5 kilo boxes. You're probably going to need more manpower if they're heavier. So it'll depend. But I would say that for the most part, we're seeing about 1.3 years in payback for most of our customers. And I've seen even customers that are under the 1 year mark to get their ROI. So that's very interesting for most people. And with time, with the more features that we have, with the fact that today it's actually very hard also to find labor in these types of roles, we're seeing also a decline in this time. So like it's becoming less and less time before you reach that ROI. I can say, for example, one of our customers recently purchased an entire end of line solution. So, not just a palletizer, it was a case sealer, a case packer, a case erector, and they were able to do it in less than 1 year.
It's quite a lot of value in a short amount
Absolutely.
of time when you really look at the scope.
I would say that one of the main reasons that you can achieve this ROI is the power of the platform that Vention has, because it's not only starting at the actual deployment once you're starting to run, it's at the very beginning because you don't need to spend that much time planning for this project to be deployed because our system allows us to be from order to deployment within like weeks at times, depending on the scale of the project. And so in the example that I was mentioning, within 3 months, we had a machine running on the floor. It's quite fast compared to what the industry has seen in the past.
Absolutely. So I want to go back because you touched a little bit on this before, but how does Vention's palletizing equipment integrate with other packaging technology? Can you expand on that?
So we, as I mentioned, we do have a couple of products that are compatible with it and that we offer ourselves. Some of them are fully Vention made, so from the bottom up, and some of them are actually things like case sealers that will partner up with different companies and offer them as part of our solution. The important thing is to make sure that we understand the flow, we understand the throughput, everything that is coming out, and that we can plan for all of the time that a box passes through the entire process of packaging. So we ensure, and this is part of our pre-sales process, that we understand what your specific needs are in your process and that we adapt the right equipment. At times, our customers will already have something like, for example, a case packer, and all they need to do is add the very end step, so the palletizer itself. And then we just make sure that we're matching that. All of our systems will communicate, so we have different protocols of communication to connect with these machines. And so it's very easy for us to obtain information and pass information to stop a machine or restart a machine according to what is needed.
That's very helpful, especially when you're moving so fast and so quickly and you need that seamless transition. So I just have one last question for you. What is the best way for bakers to get in touch to start this conversation and see how this palletizing technology can fit their needs?
The easiest way is to go on our website, vention.com, and that is where they can actually schedule a meeting and go through, if they go through our support tab, so at the very top, and they're able to schedule a discovery call, a demo of our equipment. They can even book an in-person visit to our Vention Experience Center, and they're able to see the machines for themselves and like see how easy it is to truly use them. And the other thing is we're always at trade shows within the industry. So an example is Pack Expo, we're always there.
And that'll be upcoming. So that's a good spot for bakers to also just meet you at your booth.
Absolutely.
Well, Natalia, thank you so much for your time today. This was a really insightful and interesting conversation, and I'm really excited to see where else palletizing technology takes the industry.
Thank you so much.